people that have been making their way over to the YouTube podcast space. Some have come from corporate media, and some of them have either been politicians or friends of politicians or a spouse of a politician. And now we see that Michelle Obama had an announcement, something she wants to let people know. Now it appears that Michelle Obama is also making her way over to this space. This announcement was on X. She said, "I am so excited for you to get to know my big brother, Craig, on the IMO podcast," which I assume is In My Opinion. In our first episode, we share stories about growing up on Euclid Avenue in Chicago and the journey that led us to who we are today. From life on the South Side to going to college together to the White House, and more recently, our experience after losing our mom. It's been a lot, but we always know that we have each other's backs. For over 6 decades, we've been each other's sounding board, and now we can't wait to be yours. Okay, so hold up, man. Excuse me, raising my hand. If any of you have ever read Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, which I did read, I'm nosy. If you've ever read that book, all of that is explained in her book. Okay, like all of that. The whole story about her life growing up in Chicago, her and her brother, her parents, yada, yada, going to college, her experiences at Princeton, when she married Obama, when he started to run, she didn't want him to participate in politics. All of this has already been explained. No, right? But now there seems to be some reason to let's put this onto a podcast, and not just any podcast, but on YouTube. So listen to this clip here. Listen to this. So this is her and her brother. Check this out.
You know, it just, we started talking about this at the outset, why we're doing this show.
You know, post White House and writing the books and doing book tours, you know, speaking at leadership conferences, things you do as a coach, you realize that what we have, even in our lack of resources, you know, in our household growing up, we had people who would share their opinions, give us advice. We had mentors, and we were used to mentoring and being mentored. And I realized that a lot of people don't have that. You know, they don't have a safe place to come sometimes,
right,
where they feel comfortable being vulnerable and asking hard questions.
So I guess this podcast is supposed to be that safe space, right? Let me tell you, fam. Let me tell you what's going on here, okay? This is another attempt, right? Michelle Obama and her brother, and I'll show you the channel in just a second. But it's like, I'm going back to what Garland Nixon said last time he was on the show about people coming in to infiltrate the independent media space. Because let's be clear, it's not like Michelle Obama is just anybody. She's Barack Obama's wife. She was married to the president of the United States. She was very vocal after the 2016 election and said, "I can't believe all these people stayed home." And I'm pretty sure she's probably feeling that way now that all those people stayed home in 2024, because we look at the numbers and the numbers do show you that more people came out in 2020 than in 2024. The numbers are showing that a lot of people stayed home, and a lot of people who came out to support Joe Biden did not come out to support Kamala Harris, the Democratic Party, this time around. So if it's just, I just want to start a podcast to talk about life experiences and just to have conversation, you could have done that at any time. What I question is the timing of it. It happens after the Democrats have lost the presidential election. So this podcast starts up in an attempt, I feel, to try to get people back to the Democratic Party and to come out and vote next time around. After the loss in 2024, but before the midterms. You see, there's a science to these things. And a lot of times timing is everything. And you always got to kind of look at this thing, like starting this after a loss, right? I think we all know what they're really trying to do. So because Michelle Obama is such a popular figure, The numbers ain't showing that, by the way. But because Michelle Obama is such a popular figure, people are telling her, oh, you should start a podcast and put it on YouTube and da-da-da, and you'll bring people over. That didn't work out too well for Don Lemon either. What we noticed is a lot of these people that were popular in the mainstream, once they came over to YouTube, it seems like that did not transfer over. Don Lemon was on CNN for years, primetime show. At one point, it was the most watched show on CNN. He had really good ratings at one point. He gets booted. He comes over to YouTube. He should be pulling larger numbers than what he's pulling. This is the point I'm getting across, right? Angela Rye also gets the boot. As popular as she is in Democratic circles, comes over to the YouTube space with iHeart Radio, also with Tiffany Cross and Andrew Gillum, and they have this podcast called Native Podcast. They should be receiving more views. So what it says to me is that people, for the most part, are not falling for it. It tells me that people are like, what are they trying to do here? Now, all of a sudden, they're trying to be cool. So we're now supposed to sit back and believe. They want us to believe that I'm just like you. I'm an everyday Joe Schmo. I know I was the wife of the president of the United States, but look at me just chilling here with my brother and all this kind of stuff. I'm dressed down. I'm just like you, but they're not. This is a facade, right? No, you're not just like us. You and your husband have a mansion in Martha's Vineyard. I live in Massachusetts, honey. I've never even been to Martha's Vineyard. They're trying to trick you. Let's continue.
Or they don't have people in their lives they trust. They are lone wolves, or maybe they have contentious relationships where they're estranged from the people they could rely on. So a lot of people out there are looking for guidance. A lot of people have questions they want to know, especially when they see somebody of note with a platform who, you know, by every measure looks successful. The first question is, how'd you do this? Tell me more. So I can only access so many people through books or at tours or at, you know, limited leadership conferences. So I think this podcast, first and foremost, gives us an opportunity to hear from folks. You know, we're going to be taking, you know, questions from listeners who are going through some things and just need a little advice.
Okay. So she mentioned the word access, right? I only get access to people, so many people on podcast tours or book tours, etc. Right? So she's trying to reach more people, and she's trying to reach more people with what message, right? Probably the same message as before of this is what happened because you guys didn't come out and vote for Kamala. This is what happens because you guys didn't come out and support the Democratic Party. You can see they have the website for it here, IMO. Welcome to IMO with Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson. See, they got the podcast and everything. Every week, Michelle Obama and Craig will be joined by a special guest to answer your real questions about life and everyday challenges you are facing. So I'm pretty sure those questions that they answer are going to be very, very cleverly selected. Watch our premiere episodes here. You should start a podcast with your sibling. Some friendships need to go with Issa Rae. So again, like, it's out of touch. It's like they want to dress down and make it seem like they're just like you. Like they get you, they get the working class. But then they have celebrity guests that people you have nothing in common with and you would never be able to talk to. If Michelle Obama really wanted to reach out and help people, and she wanted to do this podcast, why not bring on working class people, right? With all the resources and the money and the energy that Michelle Obama has, why not use that to start something outside of electoral politics that will liberate and help the working class? Why not do that? Why not start a mutual aid organization? Why not get out there and advocate for the unions and the union rights and help the workers and that kind of thing? Why not do that? Why? Because that doesn't make money. That's volunteering. That doesn't make money. So if you're really trying to reach the everyday people that you just talked about, that you said don't have these mentors when they're growing up in their communities, what is an episode with Issa Rae supposed to, how's that supposed to fix that? It doesn't. Now, what was really interesting, now I tell you, it's wild out here in these streets. When it was first announced, and this just drives me crazy, Michelle Obama's new podcast, IMO, gets only 12,000 views in 14 hours despite mass marketing campaigns. So here's another thing. This is the president's wife. 12,000 views, and she was using marketing campaigns. We don't have marketing campaigns. Like, it just, that shows you the class difference, right? A lot of us that do this, those of us that are smaller channels, we don't have the money to pay for mass marketing campaigns. We hope that you find us, or we hope that maybe you see us on someone else's show and then you'll come over. We hope that maybe a video will zip through the algorithm and will draw more eyes so people can come over and hear our message. But the fact that she even had the money like that to let me just put out these mass marketing campaigns. You see how they can just jump ahead of the line? And those of us in independent media, we couldn't jump ahead of the line. With a few exceptions of podcasters in this space that are millionaires, with a few exceptions, most of us are not. Most of us didn't have resources like that. Most of us had to start from the bottom, had to start from scratch, and had to kind of crawl our way to the top. But because Michelle Obama is who she is, she was just able to just drop money on a marketing campaign. And then even after that, 12,000 views. And they're referring to this one. Some friendships need to go with Issa Rae. At that point, it was 3.8K views. And the one that's called You Should Start a Podcast, which was 12,000 views right there. Yeah. But this is what happens sometimes when you try to jump the line, right? Oh, what's that, Huey? Those 12,000 views are probably bots. Huey is a trip. Huey came in with the ka-dunk, ka-dunk. So then you'll see here, if you go to our channel, right? So this channel, you can always look at the date. It was started February 11th, 2025. They just started putting videos on there. She now has 22,000.6K subscribers. The point that I'm trying to make is this. She paid for a marketing campaign and she has 22,000.6 subscribers. Now I'm sure it'll continue to go up, but she paid for a marketing campaign. She was Barack Obama's wife. If you look at the videos, I told you guys how they were coming around here, and I'll show you the description in just a second, right? So if you look at the videos again, in my opinion, that now has 25,000 views. We started a podcast, 88,000 views. And again, they had a marketing campaign. With the marketing campaign, and because of the fact that she was the president's wife, she should have had way more views than that. That's the point I'm trying to get across. What I'm trying to tell you is people not interested. I think people are growing tired of the Obamas. And no, Michelle was not president, but at the same time, it's like, we tired of you too. Like, I don't know how else to say this. We are tired of you, okay? You guys have gone the way of the wigs. We are tired of you. And then you'll see the Issa Rae one now has 47,000. And then this one 7 hours ago, 8.9K. The point is, they're trying to trick you. Girl from the South Side and former first lady, wife, mother, dog, lover, and always hugger in chief. So she's trying to make herself seem like I'm down, I'm real, just as you, but you're not. We're not the same. And I'll say this to anyone, be very wary of people doing this. So, girl from the South Side. Girl from the South Side. Bree had a really good point here. It's very funny to me that we went from podcasters aren't real life to the Democratic Party thinking they need a Joe Rogan to win and Michelle Obama trying to have my job. That's a really good point. Really good point. Remember what they said about us. We're not real, right? Oh, don't listen to them. They didn't go to journalism school or da 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 da. We were nobody. Nobody that they said don't come over here. They said this isn't real news, right? But now everybody want to come over here. That's the point I'm trying to get across. Everybody, Mouse says Bree for the win. For reals. It's ridiculous. Get out of here. Get out of our space, right? It takes me back to something that Torrin said. This was at the Black Media panel I had a couple days ago. Torrin and Garland warned us about this. Listen to Torrin.
I think some of them are so inured with the way the mainstream works that they can't find an authentic voice in the streets, and they don't even know how to move because nobody trusts you. So I just feel like it's fascinating. But you're going to see more of that. And like the brother Garland said before, a lot of these people didn't give a damn about doing independent media until they got the boot. Now they're trying to come out here like, hey, my brother, my sister, everything. There's a movie.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's like, yeah, now everybody's like, I'm here. I'm down with the people. I'm just like you. Now they want to be one of us. You didn't want to hear from us. You guys didn't want nothing to do with any of us. And Garland really broke this down. It's just interesting that this podcast announcement happened after Garland said this on my show. Listen to this.
It's not news. If I can turn on MSNBC or CNN and I know who they're going to attack, I know who's good, who's bad. Then I go to Fox, I know who's good. Then I go to Newsmax or Newsmax or OAN, right? And I know who's good and who's bad, right? I'm like looking at my country saying our country has some fundamental problems. When I can't turn on the news and just see, I want to see a forest fire. Don't we just have forest fires anymore? Why is it if it's a forest fire, then if it's a Republican or a Democrat, it's not the forest fire that's the story. It's what state is it in and which political party is in charge of the state so you can attack them and blame them for the forest fire. Everything has a political tinge to it, which means we don't have media anymore. We just have outlets for the various parties. And I think what's happening, and Terrain hit it, and that is there's those of us, I've been about 3 years, who enjoy what we do. And we just get out here because we got something to say. And it's like, well, it didn't work that good on mainstream media. So I can get on, as Jamal said earlier, hey, I can get on here and say anything I want, and there'll be somebody that likes it. And if not, there won't be that many people, but I get to say it. And one of the things we have to be careful of now is this, the Don Lemons and his ilk. People who didn't make it in the, either didn't make it in the mainstream media. And let me be a little conspiracy theorist here. Also, I think that the mainstream wants to infiltrate this sphere. And they want to get people in here and give the appearance that they're alternative media. And we know who they are. There's some people I look at it and I'm like, you look like you're sitting in your bedroom or something with some curtains in the back, right? But when I listen to what you're saying, I might as well be listening to CNN. So there's people out here that want to create the appearance of alternative media, but what you're hearing out of their mouth is it's the same old thing. And I feel it's the mainstream trying to infiltrate here and get over here and take all of our people, but it ain't going to work because the people that are in the chat right now, the people that are watching our shows, they're there for the realness of it. And they know when it ain't real. Intuitively, they know what's real and what's not. That's why they left them. And that's the good thing about it.
I mean, Garland and Torrin spot on. I mean, it is wild out here in these streets. Get up out of our space. You guys said we were nobodies. You guys said, oh, those YouTubers. You guys said we were misinformation. You said we weren't news. You said that we didn't have the credentials. So why are you trying to come over here, man? Why are you trying to come over here and hang with the homies? Okay? So I don't get it. Now you want to be a part of this space after you said all these things, about this particular space and those of us that do political commentary in particular. Michelle Obama can go on MSNBC, CNN, even if she wanted to, she could go on Fox News. The rest of us can't. Okay? Right? The rest of us can't. And if you see some of these people from independent media on corporate media, you need to ask yourself why. How'd that happen? How'd that happen? Right? So think about that for a second. There are people in this space that have been blackballed. Breonna Joy Gray has talked about this before, how she was blackballed just because she worked on the Bernie campaign, right? You wouldn't see me, you wouldn't see Bree, you wouldn't see Garland Nixon, Torrin, Jamal Thomas. You wouldn't see any of us. You wouldn't see any of my comrades over at RBN. You wouldn't see us in corporate space, but they coming over here. They coming over here into our space. No, this is not your party, and you can't cry if you want to. Stay over there with you and your hubs, with your mansion in Martha's Vineyard, with the people that you like to hang out with, and don't try to come over here and slum with the bros. That's just all I'm saying. That's it. I'm starting a podcast. I'm starting a show now. Now that we lost, I'm going to start a show. And that is going to be to shelter people back into the Democratic Party and tell them, you see what's happening? This is why you got to go out there and vote and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. If Kamala Harris would have won, Michelle Obama wouldn't have been starting this podcast. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.